Thank you so much for joining me today on Just Praise Him Radio. I'm your host, Glenda Lomax, and my job is to inspire you to a closer walk with Christ. Now here's the show. Hello, believers. Welcome to the Just Praise Him radio program. I'm your host, Glenda Lomax, and today we're going to talk about what the Lord is saying is coming for 2018 and beyond. He did give me a word for 2018 that'll be released on that day, but I'm actually going to read you that word on this podcast too. First, for anybody who hasn't seen it, I want to read you a short word that he gave me earlier today that I was not expecting. I'd already posted a word for today. I was writing my tithe and offering checks, and I noticed, like anybody does, you write your tithe and offering and your bills, and you see, where you're at on your money. And I just noticed, because of the extra expenses that I had, that I was going to be, pretty tight on money. And so I've been a tither ever since I got saved. From the week I got saved, I tithed and offered, because Mom had always taught me that you're supposed to tithe. And so I knew that was something you did when you were a Christian, and so I just started right away. It was never an issue. And as I began to write out the check, I heard Satan whisper, "Wow, sure would be nice to be able to keep that and not be so tight on money." And I was like, nope, not doing it. If I keep that, the rest of my money is cursed. No thanks. Not today, Satan. And so I began to pray and ask the Lord to, just kind of strengthen me in that area so I wouldn't be tempted to do that. Because I'm generally never tempted where the tithe is concerned, because I've had to stand on it so many times that I know that, it's just not an option to not do it. And the Lord spoke to me, and he said, you did good to resist the enemy's, temptation. He said, my people are all being tempted not to give right now. And he said, many will fall to that temptation, believing that, they won't have any consequences. He said, many of them overspent recently, and I figure he was probably talking about Christmas, but I don't know. And now must pay the price otherwise, so they will choose to steal from my coffers rather than do without themselves. And he said, tell them that stealing from me, especially in this late hour, will bear terrible consequences, not only for them, but also for their families and loved ones, for it opens the door to the enemy's destruction. If they fall to the enemy's temptation, they will begin their next season in disobedience and spend their year in want. Tell them I love them and I desire they would prosper, but I cannot prosper them without their obedience to me in these things. I wanted to read y'all that for anybody who hadn't read it on the site. It's posted on the Just Praise Him site. But I was really surprised when he started talking to me about that. But and I thought of, when he was speaking that word to me, I thought of, how sin is bearing faster and more intense consequences now for a while now. How long? Most of this year, all this year, or something, since he said that to us. And so I thought, of course, it makes sense then that, disobeying in that area also would bear greater consequences. But when he said spend the year in want, I thought, oh, I'm glad I resisted that temptation. So, okay, anyway. The only time I have not tithed since I got saved in 1996 was I was reading the scriptures one time, and it says, prove me now herewith. And I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to prove him. And so I held back the tithe, one paycheck, and it did not take me very long to go back and tithe on that. Can I just tell you that? I said, okay, Lord, I'm convinced. I mean, stuff was breaking down. I was getting stolen from because the devourer wasn't rebuked. My body was getting hit. I mean, everything happened at once. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to tithe. So it makes sense too, y'all, why Satan will try to keep you from giving when you're supposed to give. Because he knows what a big door that opens. All right, 2018 is not good news. I'll tell you that up front. It is not good news. 2018 is going to be a year of the enemy gaining ground. It is going to be a year of, let me just read you. 2018 is going to be a year of destruction of many ideals and institutions, ways of doing things kind of stuff are going to be destroyed. Evil is going to make headway. It's like what I saw in the spirit. It's like if the moral right side is just going to be mowed down. I'm seeing God's people having great grief over this, and I see many troubles for God's people this year. It is a year of the enemy gaining headway, a year of losing much headway to the group called the progressives, the people that think abortion is good, and they think Obama and Hillary are good. Let me just put it that way. A year of much moral decay, even worse than it is already, so that's pretty scary. A year where people will begin to choose more openly or publicly which God they will serve. Some will turn from the faith because Satan will convince them that a loving God would never let this happen, etc. It is going to be a fight for God's people to hold out hope. And they will begin learning more to encourage themselves in the Lord like King David did. And as they do, the Lord will strengthen them and their boldness will begin to come out. And as one side comes out boldly, the other side will stand up boldly also. Leaders will change and evil ones will take their place. When I heard that, I immediately thought Obama and said, please, Lord, no. This has been planned and is just the plan playing out. Now, this that I'm reading you, I got about 4 or 5 days ago. The word I'm going to read you, I just got in the last hour. Okay. This has been planned and is just the plan playing out. The evil ones have been planning behind the scenes for some time now to do what is being done. And they are gaining ground. God's people must prepare their hearts to see this so they are not destroyed by disappointment and despair when it happens. It will play out for a while and then God will begin responding in very big ways. They will rule in power, but he will destroy much of what they are ruling and they won't know what to do. Because they didn't plan that. They will want to run then from their responsibilities to save their own skin, but they will be caught in their own traps and destroyed in the end. God's people must prepare their hearts in faith to stand and keep on standing no matter what happens to them, no matter who or what they lose, because that loss is going to become a reality. The loss of loved ones, suddenly and completely destroyed in ways you never could have imagined. One minute they are here, then they are gone, and you didn't even get to say goodbye. And this is going to cause much grief. This grief will be harder to bear as you will be dealing with other changes at the same time. You must learn to rest in Him as these things are happening, realizing everything and everyone on earth are temporal, only temporary. Our lives, their lives, everything around us is only temporary, and that you will be leaving for eternity very soon. Okay? The grief companion that God has spoken to me to write, that I will be starting on soon, is for this time. He told me, when I talked to him about that after he showed it to me in the vision, he said, my people are going to need that book. And he showed me death and destruction just reigning. And that book is for that time of destruction. Persecution will be on the rise, and it will be accepted to persecute Christians more than ever before. A false flag attack is being planned to make this happen. Attacks will be blamed on Christian extremists that will make persecution widespread and acceptable under a new leader. I believe a different president. You must prepare your hearts to see this, for it is coming. Christians will eventually have to flee for their lives, as killing them will almost become recreational. And I have been seeing that for years. This president will outlaw the Bible in America, calling it a book of hate, not love. I don't know if that will happen in 2018. He will say this is being done to keep the American people safe. I still think this leader is Obama, y'all. I hate to say that. It makes me feel nauseous. But I keep seeing him as I'm saying this. And I believe he will bring Hillary in as his second in command. A new religion will soon emerge, and it will become the world's favored religion. It is actually no religion at all. It is all love, no hate, no restrictions, no rules. Anything goes. That's why they like it. It will be touted as the true religion of love, and Christianity will begin to be looked upon as a religion of hate. This is already being planned. Churches will close. The love of the great body will wax cold against God for allowing these things to take place, that the end may come. Because most people are not going to realize that they are being allowed so the end can come and stop the wickedness. Something, I saw in the Spirit, something is going to come that is going to limit the food supply prior to any wars or anything happening. I see there being a limit on something, like there's not enough of it. But I think it's a biological shortage. Something has damaged the crops. Either something like the wildfires in California or some weather event or other disaster has caused a shortage. I also see at least one very major weather event in 2018 that will paralyze a region for a time. And the people in that region will get what we call cabin fever and will commit crimes because of this that will make the news. I cannot see what kind of weather event it is. I don't know if it's snow or if it's something else. Many adjustments will have to be made in 2018 by God's people to adjust to the new ways of doing things that will be forced upon them. Okay. Let me open another document here. I am going to read you the word that I got for January 1st. It's called a call to intimacy. Beware, my people, for the intensity of the time you live in is increasing daily. When the events culminate to a certain point, it will increase suddenly, exponentially. When this happens, your choices will be very limited, and many of my people will not survive. I tell you these things that you may prepare by knowing me more intimately than ever before. If you know me intimately, I am able to help you in these times I tell you of. If you do not know me this way, your faith will not sustain you in them, for they will be dire indeed. Plans have been made by those who are privileged, those who have power, and those with special advantages to make changes according to their liking. When he said that, I immediately thought of President Trump, but he did not say that this has anything to do with him. That's just who I thought of. Their plans will be carried out because the time of the end is upon all flesh, and all scriptures must be fulfilled, that my people can come home to be with me here in heaven. The people making these plans are against me. They are against my people. They are against my word. They will usher in my enemy. Now, I felt that he was talking about the Antichrist here, but he did not say that. This group is made up of many peoples. He's talking about nations or different nations, people from different nations, leaders from different nations. And they have long plotted to destroy this country, talking about the U.S., because of its foundation in me. Though many in this country no longer love my name or serve me, this country once stood for me and my ways like no other. He sounded so sad when he said that, like a father who had lost his child. My children, you must get ready for what is coming. Becoming close to me, walking in intimacy with me, is not an overnight process. If you do not begin, you will not arrive. You will not have enough time to do this if you do not begin now. This year will bring many changes for my people and many opportunities for those who do evil against them. Now, when he said that, I immediately saw like promotions and riches for people who are willing to do evil against God's people. See that you have no part in oppressing my people. See that you take no part in siding with what is wrong. See that you worship only me, for the end is at hand, and those who do not will suffer a terrible end. I do not have any good news tonight, y'all, about 2018, I'm sorry to say. But I would rather give you the truth, even when it's not good news, than give you anything that just comes from me, because nothing that comes from me is going to help you. So I hope that this in some way will bless you and that you will begin to prepare. Walking in intimacy with Jesus is such a treasure. It's just being with Him in your spirit all the time and communing with Him and talking to Him and spending time in His Word and asking Him questions and spending time praying for the lost, because that is His heart. He came to save those which are lost. That's what he died for, was to save the lost. You and me were once lost. And now He wants to save the other lost people. But somebody has to pray so He can. That's very close to His heart. And if you pray for other people that you don't know who are lost, He'll save the people that you do know who are lost, that you love. I hope that y'all have a great weekend and that you're staying warm. It's awfully frigid where I'm at. God bless you. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Just Praise Him Radio. You can contact me by mail at my new address, JPH Inc., Glenda Lomax, P.O. Box 60, Glencoe, Arkansas 72539, or by email at jphtoday@gmail.com. JPH is not affiliated with any nonprofit organization, church, or denomination. Have you ever gone through a time in your life where suddenly it just felt like your whole life was falling apart? I call these experiences the wilderness experiences. Wilderness experiences are a time of great uncertainty and change. There are times when our faith is tried and refined. After many experiences, the Lord spoke to me to write the Wilderness Companion, which is a virtual roadmap through the desert times of your life. Find out why you've been led to the wilderness. Find out what the biggest hindrance is to receiving provision in the wilderness. Find out what the 7 temptations of the wilderness are. Drastically cut the time you spend in the wilderness by learning how to partner with the Lord instead of working against Him. Every Christian needs to read The Wilderness Companion. It's by Glenda Lomax, and it's available on Amazon.com or wingsofprophecy.com. Amazon.com, The Wilderness Companion by Glenda Lomax. What is in store for the once great and mighty nation of America in these end times? What is the living God saying to the people of America now? What could possibly be in store for a nation that once trusted in God, but has changed its path from following in the living God's ways to now removing Him from everything and walking the other way? In the book No Longer Mine, you will find all the messages to America collected in one place in chronological order. No Longer Mine, Messages to an Unrepentant Nation, is now available in print at wingsofprophecy.com in the bookstore tab. Get your copy of No Longer Mine today. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you love deeply? If you have, then you know being betrayed by someone you love can be a life-altering experience. What you may not know is that every Christian must pass the test of absolute betrayal at least once in their Christian walk if they want to go higher. No test hurts more or pulls more strongly on your emotions than when someone you love completely turns against you. Do you know how to pass this test? Through a revelation received from the Lord, I share the good news about why betrayal visits Christians and how to pass this test once and for all. Don't let your betrayal catch you by surprise. Get the Judas Test on Amazon.com in print and Kindle versions. The Judas Test.